Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. It's the Kevin Jackson Show. Talking about lies and truths, and the lies and truths of education is one. Can we talk education for just a bit? Well, we're going to. We all have a favorite teacher, right? Yeah, one of my friends told me there's always one teacher that he had a crush on. He says it was his wife's aerobic instructor. Oh my goodness. We covered truisms a while back. Is one of the programs that we were doing in our lecture series for the church. We covered truisms. I do feel like at times this is a church that we're preaching, but not getting preachy. Being preached to is good. Sometimes you need a brother to preach to you. Preach, brother, preach. There's a saying, education begins at home. And that's true. Once you have your little baby, your little cherries, whatever, you then say, okay, I'm going to start teaching you. And it's you mostly, but then guess what? Grandma comes in, whatever, babysitters, etc. They have influences. But for the most part, education begins at home. Your child is set for life based on the things that you imprint upon them. That's what you hope, right? You say, don't you steal. You grab your kiddo, he does something, he or she does something, you take him back to the store. You tell Mr. So-and-so that you're wrong, and that imprints on a kid, and they're like, I'll never do that again, right? And so then they grow up and they become a person of character. They don't steal. They don't cheat. They don't litter. They become good stewards of the planet, and so on and so forth. And we all believe that we are instilling these types of character traits into our kids. And I would ask you, why is it that the leftists, they do everything that we just talked about? They litter, they cheat, they steal, they borrow and never give stuff back. I mean, they are the worst. The worst. So the better question might be, where does education end? We talked about this study that kids leave home. They're church-going kids within a certain amount of time. Certainly by the end of college, I think they said something like 8% of church-going kids continue going to church. They've beaten 92% of the God out of people, essentially. By the time you get out of college, they've convinced these kids it's a waste of time. Don't misunderstand me. You're in college, partying on a Saturday night. I get it. You don't get up and go to church the next morning as readily as you may have in the past. I get it. But I'm talking about they don't even want anything to do with the church. It's been talked out of them. They become, Nietzsche disciples or whatever, and, agnostics at best and atheists at worst. It's crazy. They leave you. They leave all your values, things that you've instilled in them from a little bit. I think it was one of the Germans that said, you give me a child of 6 years old, and by the time he or she is a man, I will have made them what I want them to be. You believe you've made your children what you want them to be. But does education begin at home? Because if it does, why aren't they imprinting on you for conservative values? We're supposed to be split in this country, conservative values, and I mean, you would think we'd have half of the kids in college that would at least believe what we believe. So what happens? They get imprinted on by other people, huh? Where does education end? Well, I can tell you, for conservatives, education ends for them when they leave home, because you're no longer the influence and you haven't imprinted. You know who's imprinted? Hollywood, entertainment, and all other kinds of factors. And then government takes over for reals, because government is indoctrinating them the whole time. You think, oh, I've been imprinting, but the government says, no, you send them to me for 8 hours a day, 8 hours a day, and then I'll send them back home to you. And you think, no, I'm the one imprinting. This here my juke joint. These here my kids. And then your kids come home and they're like, hey, Dad, Mom, there's an interesting concept about something that they were talking about in my school. And you're like, I hate that. What's going on with that? I don't like that curriculum and all that. But nothing changes. Do you change the textbooks? I played a clip the other day of what's being taught. LGBT history. It isn't even history. It's, well, so-and-so could have been gay because he, he never got married. Oh, you mean he was a lifelong bachelor playing the field, huh? Okay. No, he was gay. Maybe. I don't know. But let's print it that way. What are you doing? Are you really monitoring the curriculum? Are you really involved to the point that in the old days where we did get imprinted, when your parents told you something, it was imprinted because you didn't have the influence of TV and the internet and all the debauchery that's thrown into your life every single day, day in and day out. And you think you as a parent control what your kid sees on that big encyclopedia that's on their phone, that world wide web that's got more information on it than the collective stuff, the collective everything of man is held in their hands. We are immensely more educated than our loincloth progeny, but are we really more intelligent? Look at the preconceived notion of the leftists. Blacks, they say, are too stupid to get ID to vote. They then work backwards. The left dumbed down blacks by allowing us to get lower grades to get into better schools. So we get to see just how stupid we are at the best universities. And ultimately, we either drop out or they allow us to skate by. Yeah, they go, oh, look, Mr. Black Kiddo, Mr. Colored Fella, you graduated from Harvard. Why don't you go out there and be president and be the worst one ever? And people go, oh, well, he went to Harvard. And all this begins with these stellar failure factories in black neighborhoods that we wrongly call schools. Because last time I checked, schools educate. Black schools don't educate, they indoctrinate. It is merely a stopping point for a lot of these kids going to prison or in the menial jobs where they have no contribution. They don't challenge these kids to really find out the inner beauty of whatever it is that they want, whatever it is that they can create, what they can do. There's a saying, if you think education is expensive, try ignorance. Well, you're witnessing it every single day when you watch people like these congressional black circus clowns, Maxine Waters and others, who say, I'm not going to go to the State of the Union of Donald Trump because he's a racist. And you watch guys like Don Lemon go, he called African countries crap holes and he's a racist and I'm just not going to cut into that, blah, blah, blah. And all of them are disingenuous to their rotten cores. And they fraud. They want to get blacks frothing at the mouth. Man, I got to admit, that's a racist thing to say right there. And everybody's chiming in. Why? They're going to go help Africa? They're going to run over there and help their loincloth brethren to get educated. Do you know what Donald Trump said to you and Buku about you? I don't know. I have to go get water for my family. I will be back in 2 hours. It's such a joke. I want to jump into this Cory Booker statement because, and I'm going to rip this guy a new one because he deserves it. He made his campaign speech before Congress, and it was the most condescending. It was the worst piece of drivel, and I promise you, the left is salivating over it right now. They're over there high-fiving. Whoa, Cory, you were awesome, my friend. I couldn't believe you put that white woman in her place. Yeah, look at you, boy. Talk about it when we come back.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.